The kaleidoscope was patented in 1817 by Sir David Brewster, a scientist who was experimenting with optical instruments. Well, first used by designers to study symmetrical patterns, the kaleidoscope was soon released as a toy. Well, optical toys were very popular during the Victorian era as parlor games and educational toys. Well, families gathered round to marvel at devices such as the magic lantern. Well, an advertisement from an 1889 Montgomery Ward catalog reads, "Magic lanterns and ziopticons for schools, societies, army posts, home and public entertainments. We carry a full stock of high-grade magic lanterns, ziopticons, slide screens, and accessories at all times." Well, another parlor entertainment device was the stereoscope. The picture cards were photographed using a camera that had two lenses the same distance apart as an average person's eyes. Well, two light photos were created, saving an image as if you were actually there. The viewer holds the picture card at a distance so that your left eye only sees the left photo and the right eye only sees the right photo. So the scene appears as if you were actually standing where the photo was taken. Families would share photographs for hours on end, similar to our television hours together. We'll find kaleidoscopes or find ornamental items often crafted from bronze, tin, and wood. They were quite expensive, but nonetheless, adults and children alike could enjoy turning the colorful pieces of glass for hours. Colorful pieces falling into place describes the beautiful kaleidoscope quilt. Today I'm going to show you how to make a kaleidoscope quilt made from 3 different fabrics. Elaine made this quilt in multiple fabrics of blues and mauves and added 2 borders. This is a lap quilt in an overall pattern. The center stars are completed, but the ones on the outside edge are missing their star points. Or you can make this one using beautiful Christmas scraps. Now this star is made of 8 large triangles in dark fabrics. The center is large triangles, medium fabric, and the background is large and small, and this is a great place for machine quilting. Now the outside edge is made of 3 different blocks. This one without a star point, this one with a star point, and then you have the corner block right here. Well, this quilt reminds me of looking through the eye of a kaleidoscope. The colors in this kaleidoscope are just beautiful. Ooh, turquoise, pink, little blue. Well, they're almost as beautiful as the fabrics in this quilt. That white background circle surrounding that purple star and just a touch of turquoise, a little bit of mauve. Ooh, it's wonderful. Now this is a 9-block wall hanging in the overall pattern, and this size quilt you can do in a day. Well, walking into a quilt shop is just like walking into the eye of a kaleidoscope. All of those beautiful fabrics on the shelves. These fabrics are just wonderful. This is what I selected. This is my star, the blue or the dark, and then this is going to be the center. It's a large scale print right here, and then this piece is going to be my background fabric, and actually I pulled colors from all 3 in that background. Now if you're impatient like me, if you just want to see that quilt sewn together quickly, you can go ahead and take a toy kaleidoscope, just look at your fabrics, twist it around, and instantly you'll know what your quilt's going to look like. Now this is the line drawing for the block, and you can see they're all triangles. You have right in the center 8 triangles, or I'm going to call these large triangles, and those come from 5-inch strips. These triangles are smaller triangles. They come out from 4-inch strips into 4-inch squares. Now it's only the colorations of the blocks that make them look different. In the overall pattern, there's two different blocks. First of all, we're going to make the star center block. Right here you see the background corners. Right here, the second block is called the star background block. And right again, those corners with the background colors all set to go. Well, I have my fabric lined up. They've been torn from the bolt, and that torn edge is just lined up right along here. Let's see if I can cut straight today. Wouldn't that be great? All of those curvy lines in the kaleidoscope are really all straight lines. Okay, just go ahead, cut off the torn edge. Trim that off, get rid of that, and then line up your ruler on the grid at the 5-inch line. We're going to cut those large triangles right now. Now for a 9-block wall hanging, you need to have 4 5-inch strips of the star. So go ahead and cut 4 5-inch strips of the star, only 2 5-inch strips of the background, and 2 of the star center. And then actually, after you have those cut, go ahead and take your light background and cut it into a 4-inch strip. Let's see if I can get a 4-inch strip right here. These are for those smaller triangles. You cut a 4-inch strip and then go ahead, cut it into 4-inch squares. Ooh, let's just line that up and switch rulers. Just like a carpenter, you need to have a different ruler, a different tool for every job. Take that salvage edge, trim that off, just get rid of that. You don't need it. And then line up your markings at 4 inches, cut right across there. And once you have them cut into 4-inch squares, then just go back and cut them in half on the diagonal. And that's all we need for the second one. Well, this is coming good. How about some layering? My favorite part. I mean, we have to get this done fast. We don't have a lot of time. So this is what you're going to do. Take 1 star strip and lay that out 45 inches, salvage to salvage. On top of that, put a second strip, and this is going to be our star center. Now, so we can layer cut quickly, I'm just going to go ahead and repeat those pairs. Take a star strip, right side up, on top of that. Let's see, boy, sure don't want to have any little crooks right in the center of that strip. And then take a second star center strip and put it right on top of that. Okay, that's your lineup. Actually, 2 pairs all lined up. And the reason that I'm doing this is so that when I layer cut, then I'm going to have 4 triangles in 1 stack. Ooh, let's see. Important right now to get these lines perfect. You want to have the outside edges lined up. Let's just slide this along. And if you get a little crook right here in the center, you can go ahead and eliminate just that part right there. But if you press them right sides together, then when you cut them, they're just going to stick together. Looking good. Long strips, 45 inches. Now, lay them back on your grid. Make sure the outside edges are perfect. And we're going to cut these into the triangles with this 45-degree ruler. And you go, oh my gosh, is that a 45-degree ruler? It looks really strange because when you look at it, this angle right here is 45 degrees. When you take a second ruler and you lay it right up against it, then you can see that you've created that 90-degree angle. So it's definitely a 45-degree angle up here. Isosceles triangle because these 2 sides are equal. Now you need to have markings that have lines going across this way, center line going down helps. Because this is a 5-inch strip, what we want to do is just move that over so it's right on the end at 5 inches. Oh, we just want to miss that salvage right here. Right along there is the center line. Just miss that salvage and take a cut. Now, before I get rid of it, I want you to take a good look at this piece because it's just like a half a triangle. All right, got that cut? You can get rid of it now. Now, take your ruler and turn it so that it's in the opposite direction and carefully line up the 5-inch line along here. And as you're doing that, also look at the lines along the grid so that your lines on the ruler are just parallel with those lines on the grid. And then once you start cutting, you just keep on going up and down, turning your ruler back and forth each time. Now from one complete long strip, you should get approximately 20 stacks of triangles. Just all 4 in each stack all along there. Now, to do this quilt, I need to cut 10 stacks. Let me get that done. I have some easy techniques for these triangles that will dazzle you. Now the seam is a 1/4 inch, and boy, it should be an accurate one. So I found out the best thing to do is just to line up a piece of adhesive 1/4 inch from your needle and make it a long one so that that triangle just slides right along there. Now you can get a guide so that when you line it up, right there's that 1/4 inch, line it up with a needle and put your adhesive right along there. Gosh, now how can you go wrong with that one? Now, take your triangles and stack them up so that you're going to be sewing from the wide to the narrow end. And actually line these all up like this. Take your stiletto. Remember, there's 4 in each stack, so just with your stiletto, separate them so that you just have 2. Now use that 15 stitches to the inch. Hold on to those threads in the back because your machine will just love to eat that end right there. Now I'm using that red thread, always do just for you, but because you need to see the seams, it would be wise to use gray or at least some color of contrasting thread that you can easily see. So just use that stiletto. Gosh, with these things pressed together, it's not so easy to separate with your fingers, so keep that stiletto handy. Now, for a 9-block wall hanging, you're going to just shoot 20 pairs right through here, one after the other, till you have them all lined up, and then take them. Looks like flags at a gas station, doesn't it? Take them and just cut them apart right at the stitches that gather them, and stack them with the star on top like this. And then once you have the star on the top, all you want to do is just lift this star up and over and finger press the seams towards the star. Now, boy, I know you're tempted. You want to just jump up and run to the iron, but you really need to finger press because this is a bias seam, and if you go ahead and press with a steam iron, chances are you're going to stretch that bias. Now you might want to also use a little wooden iron like this just to crease that seam, but the better that you open these right along here, the better your matches are going to be in the next step. Oh, that looks good. Get that wooden iron in there. Now, take these pairs and stack them in equal amounts. I'm going to be wanting to make 5 circles, so just go ahead and put 10 in each stack like this. Oh, I didn't even count them, but I know that'll work. Equal stacks. Take this piece on the right and flip it right sides together to the left. And right here, roll it back like this. Look at it. Make sure those seams are creased back. But with your fingers, just roll that right along into place. And as you get it right up to here, take your fingers and wiggle match them. Push them in opposite directions so they're all lined up. Now, the best thing with that adhesive is that those tips, those little tips hanging out there, are not going to get stuck. Now, once you get that anchored, go to the opposite end, use your stiletto to line it up, and just push that right through. Let me go ahead and take a second one. Take this piece, flip it right sides together, line it up right about here, about a 1/2 inch from the end, and just roll it right in place and wiggle it. Push it in opposite directions, and then just butt it right on behind. Well, I used to think these kaleidoscopes were hard to do. Boy, the more I do, I think I can get 9 blocks done in about an hour and a half. That's pretty good. Even I'm impressed with that one. Now, we're working with pairs into halves. Let me pull those aside. Oh, look at that. You can see right up on the tip that 1/4 inch seam going along there. Nice sharp points going out. Now, once you have them into halves, you want to take and flip them from the wrong side and press the seam so that it goes towards the star, towards the blue. Let's just finger press that like that on that half. Let me take another one. Finger press the seam so that it's flat, but they're all laying over the star. Ooh, good. Now, lay out 2 halves. Going to make a whole circle right there. Flip them right sides together And at this seam, right here is where we want to make them match. Wouldn't that be good? But the amazing thing about it is that they have indentations that you can just roll them into. That's the perfect part. See how that blue is just going to fit right into that center color underneath. So at this point, I like to put them under my needle, anchor them, just take a few stitches, then go right here, roll this open. See how I can just fit that in place. Seams are towards the star. You get that old stiletto out. Boy, this is the best step for the stiletto. Just to keep everything flat and just stitch right across. See, you want that needle to hit right there at that V point. Line up the opposite edge, hold that flat, and just keep on sewing. Now, this is going to be the true test. Does it match? I'm not going to show you till I check it out myself. Let's see. Ooh, pretty good. Look at that. Pretty good match in that center. And you know what? Be much better if we didn't have a belly button in there. We need to have that flat. So the little trick of making this seam lay flat right here is to take the stitches that's perpendicular with the center seam right along here are about 3 stitches. And if you take your stiletto, you can just pull out 3, maybe 4 stitches right along here. And then once you have them out on the one side, just flip them over, and from this side, take them back out again. Oh, there's just a little bit of a pucker. I shouldn't let you see that right there. Just a tiny bit of one. Okay, now once you have those seams taken out, those little stitches taken out, create a pinwheel flower right in the center by taking your finger and just pushing that down and flat, and that'll just open out right there. Let me stick that in place, mush that out so that it's laying flat right in the center. It just makes a cute little flower. Okay, we're doing good. Got a flat center, perfect seams going. Now, from the wrong side, we want the seams to be right behind the star. So now you can go to your iron. Oh, I know you were just dying to go ahead and get your iron on this. But lay that little pinwheel center flat. Steam it. Now, perfect. Oh, this is looking good. Now, all we have to do is add those light squares. Remember those 4-inch squares that we cut on the diagonal? Right here. They're going to go off the tips of the dark, off the tips of the star color. And so let's just go ahead, flip them on, right sides together, and line up that seam. The tip of the triangle has to go right into the tip of the block. Okay, let's get this flat. Hold those threads at the end. Now this is actually oversized. Thank heavens, aren't we glad it's oversized? Now you're going to have multiples of these going through. So just pick up the second block and drop it so that the tip of the triangle is right off the tip of that center. Line this up, assembly line sew down. One side, once you've gone down one side, just cut it, turn it around, go down the other side, cut them apart, and go down the 2 remaining sides. Ooh, like magic. Got one piece already done. So once you have the corners on each one of them, take and set your seam. Corners are off the star right now. Set your seam and just carefully lift that up right so it's flat. And this one's beautiful. The colors make me feel so relaxed. The blues are calm and serene. Perfect. Now, we're going to square these oversized corners up. Just take your square up ruler and lay it down so that the diagonal line goes right down through the center. And what's most important right now is that you line up the 1/4-inch seam right on those seam allowances on those corner squares. Line that up perfect. Now, it's going 1/4 inch around here so you have the seams, but on the outside edge, it should be approximately 8.5 inches. And oh, I'm impressed with that one. Gosh. Okay, so up and over on 2 sides. Just take these little pieces you trim away. Get rid of those. Take this corner. Just turn it around And you have 2 more sides. Just make sure. Now 8.5 on the outside edge, 1/4 inch seam here and here. It's actually better if you have 1/4 inch seams instead of perfect 8.5 inch squares, because in the next step, when you sew them together, you want that to be perfect. Well, I'm going to finish my star center blocks, and then I'll show you the star background blocks. Now you're a pro at making the kaleidoscope block. Every block has the same sewing technique. It's just the colors that are different. So let's take a quick look at that star background block. Well, it's the same thing as we did on the other block. All you need to do is layer your 5-inch strips. First you have your star on the bottom, background right sides together to it, another star, and right sides together is the background. And oh, it's best if these fabrics are the same weight. Cut out your triangles and then get right into that assembly line sewing, wide to narrow. And then once they're all sewn together, clip them apart, put the star on the top, and open them over. Oh gosh, you must remember this. And then finger press. Nothing goes to the iron right now. Finger press into pairs, and then you take those pairs and you turn them into half circles. And when you're ready to sew these circles together, remember to press these seams flat towards the star so you have a nice flat center, and then do that little pinwheel flower center. And then there's just one more trick on the outside edge. This time, those 4-inch squares cut on the diagonal, those background squares, go on the ends of the background triangles, different than in the other block. So we've got both of our blocks done. Let's see that star emerge right from the center. These are all just square, straight lines, and you're going to see circles in minutes. So let's just go ahead and alternate between these 2 blocks. Let's see if we can get them squared up, because this is like magic here, where you just see that star emerge. Ooh, those watercolor fabrics look great. Gorgeous. Okay, now I'm going to sew the blocks together in vertical rows, top to bottom, the fast way. So take row number 2 and just flip it right sides together to the first row. You can even do this on the large quilts. It works great. You want to take the top block and stack it so that it's on the top. And then the 3rd row and each row after, take it and stack it so the top block is still on the top. Okay, this is the top corner. Oh, hold on to that tight. Always worry about twisting it before I get it to the sewing machine. Now there's a match point on here, pretty tricky match point. So you want to take a close look. Right here, you want to get this lined up so you get these seams in line. And the great part is that there's this indentation that you can go ahead and roll right in, get those triangles lined up, and then right here, some people like to pin this part. Right here at the seam, stick a pin in on the top side, go ahead and check. See, where this is where your gray thread would really help you so you can see what you're pinning. Now, match those outside edges of your triangle. This is the top of the row, so go ahead and backstitch. Let me see if I can get my foot here. Backstitch, and as soon as you get that anchored, then go right to this match point. Get it lined up. Some people like to put a standing pin in. You might want to just go ahead and pull that pin out just as you go over it and use your stiletto so that that goes right under. Now, I'm not one for pinning. I do much better with finger pinning. So I'm just going to go ahead, open it up, look at it, and just roll it right in. I'd rather just hold on to it tight as I stitch over it. Sometimes those pins just twist it enough to put it right off. Okay, now get this outside edge anchored and matched and keep on going. Now just pick up the next 2, butt it right on behind. Now this is the one point that might be a little difficult for you to match, but I'll tell you what, I've looked at those antique quilts and they do not all match. It's almost like an illusion. Okay, hold that tight. Then all you have to do, I guess if it doesn't match perfect, hang it high and keep it moving. Okay, let's just go ahead and take a look and see how this is right here. Ooh, that looks great. Going right along there, along that seam. This quilt will be beautiful with some borders and some machine quilted finish on it. But I'll show you that the next time. And I'll also show you how to do the 3 additional blocks for the edge block pattern in some gorgeous hand-dyed fabrics, plus some other kaleidoscope variations.